With this lecture, we start looking at the idea of IPA transcription. So this is where we take spoken words, sounds, speech sounds, and use phonetic symbols to write them down on paper. It's a way for us to communicate with other professionals so that they can understand exactly what was said by reading it if they were not able to hear it themselves. So we'll get into IPA transcription, give you a brief introduction. We mostly go over what we call broad transcription. So we don't get into too much detail with our transcription for this course just because it's beyond our scope, but we do get into some broad transcription for clinical purposes. So let's discuss the concept of phonetic transcription. If you have looked at a dictionary lately, you know that dictionaries have words that are phonetically transcribed. Words that are phonetically transcribed are written using a universal symbol system called the International Phonetic Alphabet. You'll notice that the dictionary transcription that you would look up in a regular dictionary is not going to match what we are going to do in this class exactly. It'll be similar, but it won't match exactly because of what I already mentioned regarding broad transcription versus narrow transcription. Dictionaries use things that we are called diacritics. You don't need to know that word. But a diacritic is an additional symbol use that gives us a more detailed picture of how specific phonemes are produced in words. And we don't go into that much detail because we're taking a very broad approach. So IPA has a special symbol for every English sound. Words that are phonetically transcribed are placed in brackets. So we have these slash marks here. Some of the symbols in IPA are the same as some of the letters in the English alphabet. So most of the IPA symbols that we will be using in our course are located on your regular keyboard. So you'll be able to just type them in. They are the same as letters, which can be confusing, but also can make things easier. And so, for example, we have the p, b, f, v, t, d, k, g, s, z, m, w, n, o, and h are all right there on your keyboard, and those are all phonetic symbols. Other sounds have different symbols that represent them, and we have other ways of including those symbols in our transcriptions. Sounds that have symbols that are not familiar to you are listed here. Remember, we're only looking at the English language, standard American English. IPA is international, and so there are symbols that we will not be using in this course that exist in IPA, but they're more international. So they're more related to other languages. And we don't get into that detail here, so you may read things online that will give you examples. They may be British English transcriptions. They may be transcriptions of other foreign words. Just note that all you need to be concerned about are these symbols for standard American English that we cover in this particular class. So again, going back to the symbols here, we have the ng, which is the ng sound, the sh, as in shoe, ch, as in chair, j, as in judge, y, as in yellow. Now you'll notice that it looks like a letter J, but it actually is produced as like a Y sound, a y. We have the th, which is the voiced th, the th, which is the voiceless th, and the zh, as in the word treasure or azure. Okay? Be very careful. Some sounds consist of two consonants, but they are only represented by one symbol. We've talked about this previously in our consonant lecture, that some sounds, so we write things maybe using two letters, but they produce one phoneme, one sound. So be very careful of those when you're doing your transcription. Your eyes can play tricks on you. And when you look at a written word, you may have a natural inclination to write two symbols, two phonemes. But obviously you need to say it out loud and pay attention to the fact that it's only making one sound. And when we transcribe, we're transcribing sounds. We're not transcribing letters. So examples here, the ng is an ng, the sh is one single sh symbol, ch, wh, etc. ck is just a k phoneme, and the ph as in phone is a f symbol phoneme. So let's practice some transcription here. So the targeted sound is underlined for you. So in the word cat, it's a k symbol. There is not a C, a letter C symbol in IPA. So that k sound will always be transcribed with what we know on the keyboard as a letter K, but it's the k phoneme in IPA. Water, the example given here is a T, is a T phoneme. Some people might argue that it's more of a D sound, a D, water, but it depends on the individual and how they say it. That's actually considered, if we want to get into more technicalities, that's a tongue flap. And that's where your tongue quickly goes up to alveolar ridge and produces the T sound. But because there are vowels on either side, it can sound more of a D because of the voicing component. So this is up to some individual interpretation. There's not always just a guaranteed this is right or wrong. It's what you hear and how it's said by that particular individual. We have shoe, g as in goat, f in telephone, k in vacuum, k, k. Yucky is a y, teacher is a ch. Let's look at some vowels when it comes to transcription. So we discussed previously the different vowel phonemes and the diphthongs. So we have the I in kid, A in bait, in took, U in blue, A in bat, Ah in hot, Aw in caught, and in strut. So I want to make a comment regarding the and the aw. So they sound very similar. And your beginning experience with this, it's very common to interchange the two, and that's fine. It's not the end of the world. It communicates the phoneme that was said in a general way. But just note that the that looks like an A is a more of a short Okay, so that's the shorter, like in hot. It's really a quick sound versus the aw that looks like an open mouth. That's how I try to tell students to look at it. Pretend like it's an open mouth is the more drawn out So caught, bought. So that may be a way that will help you to understand how those two are different. More with vowels, we have E as in fleece, as in of, E as in bet, O as in okay, as in bird, and as in mother. The that looks like a 3 with a tail on it is the stressed and that's where we put the emphasis on the bird, heard. And then we have the that is the schwa which is that upside down E with a tail. That is an unstressed So there's a difference between the two, and it communicates that stress on the vowel. So in the case of the word mother, the stress is on mother. So you hear how my voice goes up. Mother. The stress is on the ma. All right, so that's why we use that particular form of In diphthongs, examples here are ice, oi as in boy, ow as in now, and u as in q. Then we have R-controlled vowels. So in the case of the R sound, a vowel plus an R is actually considered a vowel in and of itself. So we call them centering diphthongs or R-controlled vowels. We have or, R, ear, air, ire, and our. So let's talk about how many sounds you hear. Remember, we've done this previously, that we have words that are written with more letters sometimes than there are sounds. In the case of the word caught, we have 6 letters, but only 3 sounds. K, a, t. We have quick, which is 4 sounds. K, w, I, k. Shoot, sh, u, t. 3 sounds. Throw, th, o. 3 sounds. Buy, b, I. 2 sounds. Cough, k, a, f. 3 sounds. And then finally, who, oo. 2 sounds. Don't get confused again by the written word and the spoken phonemes. Here are some examples of how you would transcribe a list of words. So on the left-hand side, we have the words written in English. On the right-hand side is how we would write this using IPA symbols. So the word bus is written again on the right. Toy, house, shoe, kick, computer, garage, machine. So you see there that these symbols are written this way. On the right-hand side, anyone familiar with IPA in the world would be able to pronounce these words if they were reading those IPA transcriptions. So now we can take that from single words into whole phrases. The flea is we, and mercy me. You cannot tell the he from she, but she knows well, and so does he.